All right, everyone, let's get rolling. Thanks for joining me. I'm Steve Baginski. I'm the president of the Rotary Club of Nordonia Hills. John, could you give us the invocation, please?
Sure, let's be in a spirit of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to gather together today by Zoom, that we all have this technology. We ask special prayers today for those who don't have jobs, and those who are struggling with their careers. May you bless them and be with them, and may those that are here today learn from our speaker and get good advice from her. Those who are eating today, take this food and bless it. Give us all the strength to follow your will. We ask these things in your holy name, O God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, John. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Debbie, could you show us the beautiful American flag? Thank you. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce our guest today, our guest speaker today is my lovely daughter, Nicole. Thanks for joining us, Nicole.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I also have my lovely daughter, Amanda, who joins us every week. She wouldn't miss it for the world. And my wife, Debbie, always lurks in the background. I know she's back there somewhere. Oh, there she is. Does anybody else have any guests that they would like to introduce? Okay, I thought my father, oh yeah, my father is there. I guess my mom's not in the background.
No, she's not here.
Okay.
She will be shortly, maybe.
She will be shortly, maybe. Okay.
That's a definite maybe.
She has a mind of her own, like her damn cat.
Her damn cat. All right. Okay. Today in history. Well, you women today it's a very, very special day for you today because back in the 19th Amendment was ratified on this day back in 1920. It was ratified after Tennessee, by just one vote, became the 36th state to approve it, capping the 72-year fight to win the women's right to vote. So congratulations, women. It's a big day. My sister Sherry wanted to give all the ladies in our plant the day off today. My wife wants me to take her out to dinner. I mean, this is like bigger than Christmas, I think. So, but no, seriously, congratulations to the women with the right to vote. A few birthdays, Robert Redford's birthday's today, Patrick Swayze. For your sporting fans, on this day in history, Larry Bird announced his retirement from basketball. He's considered one of the best pure shooters in the NBA history. And on this day, there was a huge music festival, and it ended on this day. Does anyone know what that music festival was?
Woodstock.
Yes, it was.
Woodstock.
It was Woodstock. And a great baseball player was born today. He was born in Puerto Rico. Does anybody know who that was? And it wasn't Frankie Lindor.
Roberto Clemente.
You are absolutely right. It is Roberto Clemente. So that's what I have today in history. Does anybody else have any history they would like to talk about? Okay. Birthdays. I was trying to pull up the birthday list in our Rotary thing, and I was having a rough time finding it, but I remember from last week that it's Dave Fike's birthday this week. I believe it's the 20th. You wouldn't happen to have that list, would you, in front of you, Peggy?
I could call it up, but I don't have it in front of me.
It's funny, every time I go to look up that list on Club Runner, And like, where was that at again? I was just there with it last week, but I know it's Dave Fike's birthday this week, so happy birthday to Dave Fike. And I think that was the only one. And I don't think there's any anniversaries either. So.
Nope, just Dave.
Okay. See, my memory's still good, honey. Referring to my wife, Debbie. All right, Mr. Conkle, do you have some humor for us today?
Yes, I do. Keeping in mind the articles that have been written about people gaining weight during the coronavirus lockdown, one came across my desk that I thought you'd enjoy. Goes like this. The more you weigh, the harder you are to kidnap. So stay safe and eat cake.
There's one benefit.
Oh, that's pretty funny. I guess I won't lose weight anymore. Okay. Anyone got any happy or sad dollars for us today?
Any happy or sad dollars?
Well, I'll give a happy dollar out. I'm happy that my daughter Nicole agreed to speak today. Hopefully she makes me proud.
Thanks.
No pressure.
I'm happy that John Bosco got his Zoom background up and running.
And it is a beautiful background too.
I'm happy. Teresa Thomas, I don't know if you remember the missionary from in Nigeria that's visited us that was instrumental in the 2 wells. She called me today and she's with her family and she hopes to come out. She's going to drive out sometime and see us, and she's really looking forward to it.
That's fantastic. Thank you, John. Yeah, that deserves a round of applause. Teresa's quite a special woman. Thank you, John. Anybody else? Okay. With that being said, I would like to introduce our speaker for today. As soon as I can find what I did with my glasses. There we go. Our speaker today is Nicole Baginski. Nicole is a senior IT recruiter for Robert Half Technology, a division of Robert Half International. Nicole attended Kent State University, where she obtained a degree in applied communications and minors in global communication and business management. While in school, Nicole switched her career from journalism to communication, where she became heavily involved in the Kent Communication Society and eventually became president. Nicole has always enjoyed public speaking, networking, and helping the community. Throughout her college career, Nicole had the opportunity to work alongside her father and VP of sales for international trade shows in France and Italy, assisting the company in their marketing efforts. Upon her graduation in 2016, Nicole began working for Ahola Corporation, a 50-year-old family business payroll company, as a sales executive. While in this role, she began to broaden her social networking and found herself looking into the recruiting field. Nicole has been with Robert Half for over a year now, helping candidates in Akron, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh markets find jobs. She is looking forward to providing some insight into the current job market and ways her organization has continued making progress in the global pandemic. And she has fantastic parents that live in Boston Heights, Ohio. With that being said, I'd like to introduce Nicole Baginski. Please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you. That checked every box I had having you read that. I knew you were going to add something. But no, I appreciate you guys having me. As Steve mentioned, I really want to give some insight into the job market, things that I've been experiencing working with clients just in the hiring space, and some of the creative ways that we've kind of adapted to the pandemic and keeping our company culture up, fundraising, things like that, things that Rotary might be able to, use in their day-to-day and what you guys are doing moving forward. So with that, I will share my screen. All right. Just in case you guys forget what I look like, I put a picture in there. But again, I'm going to kind of go over the COVID-19 impact on the job market, unemployment rates, Cleveland-specific unemployment rates, my role as a recruiter, IT-specific trends in the job market, what some of our clients have done to overcome the pandemic, and creative ways Robert Half has continued working internally and externally with our partners, our company culture and things like that, some of the fun stuff that we've been trying to add in our day-to-day. So some background on Robert Half. We were founded in 1948 by Bob Half, so that's where the name comes from. So we pioneered the idea of professional staffing nearly 70 years ago. And as the needs of businesses evolved, we have as well. So we shifted the staffing outlook from candidates paying for recruiters to assist them in finding a job to employers paying the staffing agency for finding them quality candidates. That was a huge shift in the staffing agency. And thinking now, why would you want someone who's unemployed to have to pay for someone to help them find a job? It just seems kind of backwards. So Robert Half was one of the pioneers of that idea, kind of switching that around. And helping companies, find the quality talent that they're looking for. In 1963, Bob Half speaks out against discriminatory recruiting and staffing practices in a letter to the Association of Personal Agencies of New York. So we're, again, adapting with times, adapting with the direction of candidates we want to work with, candidates we want to support. And Robert Half been recognized as one of Fortune's most admired companies for 23 consecutive years, as well as America's best professional recruiting firms, the best employers for diversity, which, I think at this point in time is just huge in everything that's going on with the world, to be able to recognize that I work for a company that, is recognized in that aspect. So we are comprised of 8 different divisions. As Steve mentioned, I'm part of the technology division, but we also help staff in terms of office team, account temps, finance and accounting, executive search on the CEO, CIO level, the creative group, and they specify in marketing, legal, and management resources. So sales managers, IT managers, things along those lines. In terms of the different types of solutions within each of those divisions, we offer temporary employment, which is actually the side of the business I work on as well. So contract roles, anywhere from 2-week engagements to 2 years. We've seen a lot of incline in temporary staffing in terms of IT, having people assist in that remote transition. So one of our busiest times this year was actually between February and April, as companies were shutting down and having to transition to remote. Our IT team started booming in terms of needing help in cybersecurity space, things along those lines. We also assist in full-time employment. So we can assist in finding full-time employees, directly hire onto their payroll. What's nice about working with a recruiting firm, we do a lot of the vetting process as well. So we actually interview all these candidates and then go through any questions the employers want us to go through with them. And then of course they can interview them as well on top of that. We also offer a salaried professional service. So that is more so for specific projects that a company is working within. They want to get a website up and running, things along those lines. We actually have in IT a team of 15 employees led by my colleague Mark, that help assist in building websites, specifically working in Microsoft mobile and web applications. So, we can basically rent them out. And what's nice about that is they have a team that's kind of backing up and supporting them. And again, those are those short-term project roles. So you don't need someone full-time. You only see this project lasting a couple months, or you're not sure how long it's going to last, but you just need one certain thing done. They can come in and work that right off the bat. And they're actually employees of Robert Half. And then in addition to that, we offer a managed service organization called MTS. So we've had a huge influx of this in terms of the education space. As education switched to remote towards the end of this year, we had a lot of people needing customer service assistance. So we actually have a team of 15 to 20 people that can actually cover all of those calls. They do a training with the organization, the client that we're working with, and then they take all of those calls for them. So, the HR, the secretary is not having to handle all of that. They can outsource that completely to our staffing agency. So like I said, with the pandemic and that switch over, which I'll kind of go into more of the industries that are needing more help in those certain areas, but that's kind of been a huge boom for us as well. So my role, as I mentioned, I'm a temporary IT consultant. assisting in recruiting those candidates in Akron, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. So I find candidates through Career Builder, LinkedIn Recruiter, Salesforce, Indeed, and just networking. We work with a lot of colleges and software boot camps in the area that are sometimes 12-week, coding boot camps, working in technology. And then once they graduate, I assist in finding them a position. In addition to that, a lot of times, especially, when the up and down in terms of unemployment, we haven't had as many jobs to fill candidates with. So I try to be more of a resource for them in terms of getting resume feedback, letting them know what the current job trends are, providing them with information on salaries and maybe what they should be targeting as the economy changes. And then we have a application called Skillport that a lot of these tech people in terms of Power BI and Tableau and Excel can actually take courses on for free and earn certifications through that. So we offer that for free to all of our candidates that work with us. And again, things like providing resume feedback, things that will help them in the long run if I don't have positions for them at the time, to still be a good resource for them. So moving in to the numbers. So unemployment rates and trends. So this is according to July 31st, just to give you an idea. So US payrolls rose by 1.8 million in July. The unemployment rate declined 0.9% to 10.2. So we're moving in the right direction, slowly but surely. Professional and business services added 170,000 jobs in July. The unemployment rate for college degrees workers 25 plus is 6.7%. And then in July alone, average hourly earnings for all employees rose 7 cents, following large changes in recent months. Average hourly earnings of private sector production and non-supervisory employees decreased 11 cents. And then large employment fluctuations, that vary on a week-to-week basis at this point. But looking at, the grand scheme of the percentage, obviously April was the hardest month in terms of our economic decline, and unemployment rates rose up to 14.7. As of the end of July, it was at 10.2. So we're continuing to move in the right direction there. As companies have been opening up, getting a better idea of their budgets, and then, trying to hire and plan out the rest of the year in that area. In terms of specialized, different industries, lawyers are at 1.9% unemployment, information security 1.4, web designers 2.9, financial analysts 4.1, accountants and auditors 4.2, executive administrative assistants 4.3. So those are some of the areas that are still pretty low in unemployment. And this is some of the things that I try to educate our clients on when they're discussing, what they can afford in terms of a salary at the time. I let them know, in information security and cybersecurity, unemployment's still pretty low. So that's pretty much a candidate's market still. So it's still very competitive. So things that they might not be able to offer in terms of monetary, if they still are offering remote employment, even just a couple days a week, that can be a game changer when looking at the candidate market. And then specifically in IT, so as I keep mentioning, cybersecurity, it's huge. Obviously, you guys don't want random people popping in your Zoom meetings and things like that. And just VPNs, not getting those phishing emails, things like that are the types of people I work with that come into companies and help prevent all of that. In addition to that, help desk and customer service, e-commerce, so front-end software developers. Again, a lot of companies have become more web focused. So they really build up their online presence, whether that be on networking platforms like LinkedIn or just their website in general. Power BI and Tableau database developers, that is one of the biggest positions I've been filling in the recent weeks as companies are looking at different ways to evaluate their budgets and different reporting and different visuals to see which directions their company can go. I work with software developers that help create these programs for the company to be able to visualize and plan out the rest of their budget for the year. And then industries in the IT space that we're seeing a huge hiring increase: health and wellness, logistics, education, and e-commerce. In the education field alone, we actually work with McGraw-Hill. They provide the educational books and the online platform for the education system in many areas. I believe Nordonia also uses McGraw-Hill as well. So as you know, all of the education system transitioned to remote this past spring, they had a huge influx of customer service calls between students and parents that are now having to be teachers and figure out the website and looking for things. So we actually were part of a team that hired 30 help desk employees to help them take in those calls, things like that. So it's definitely an interesting shift to see the certain jobs that are adapting and coming about due to this pandemic and, you know, that transition to remote. Again, some companies are experiencing growth and adding employees. Obviously, the essential businesses that have stayed open, you know, they are needing temporary assistance. State and local governments, as well as those that are reshoring, that might have been internationally, but now they're back in the United States, or having to only do business throughout the United States, are kind of having to adapt to that and are continuing to hire. And then projects contributing to resiliency. So SBA and the CARES Act loans, in addition to small business loans, there's certain requirements that those companies are having to meet in order to receive those loans. And in a lot of cases, sometimes that means hiring in order to you know, move forward with certain projects or meet those requirements on amount of employees. So sometimes it just comes down to that. So they're really having to reevaluate and prioritize, you know, what's most important to the company, but still, you know, looking at candidates to bring in. In Cleveland alone, this report's from the end of June. So I did have a more recent one, but it kind of helps give you an idea and some positive outlook on this. So Cleveland, compared to the rest of Ohio, was a little bit higher in April in terms of the sting that we hit in terms of unemployment. Cleveland was at 20% in April, while the rest of Ohio was about at 18. However, in June, there were still 36,000 jobs added in Cleveland, 208,000 in Ohio. The unemployment rate is down to 13.5% as of the end of June, and Ohio is at 10.9. What's been interesting in terms of the candidate market, workers are second guessing careers amid the pandemic. You know, is it worth risking my life to go to work is what it had been coming down to, you know, the fear monitoring factor in the beginning. 57% of office workers experienced a shift in their feelings towards work, including prioritizing personal life, their job, and wanting to pursue a more meaningful position. So, you know, if they had the opportunity or were able to go on unemployment just for, you know, the health and safety of their families, that's something that was definitely considered by 57% of the people that we have out employed in the United States right now. So the transition to remote. So we actually took this report from our clients prior to the pandemic. So we asked them, you know, how much have you expanded opportunities for remote work, and how much are you able to provide option to work off-site? So prior to the pandemic, it was 56% for expanding the opportunity and 47%. I would have to assume that those numbers have skyrocketed as they were kind of forced in that direction. But I will say from experience and what I've talked to with a lot of the companies around Northeast Ohio is they're continuing, the people that have proven, the employees that have proven that they're able to work remotely and still get their work done or even more productive, they're continuing to let them work remote, even as the rest of the company transitions on site. Again, I work in the IT space, so a lot of it is computer driven, but you know, in terms of different positions, they're becoming a lot more flexible in that area. And then, you know, just some benefits of having a remote workforce. A lot of companies that weren't prepared, it was obviously a lot more work to create that transition. But in terms of the hiring in general, you have access to a larger pool of skilled candidates for a company. I mean, across the United States, you can pull in the best Power BI Tableau developer as opposed to someone that's 10 miles in radius from the organization. Recruiting and retaining workers who consider remote work a valuable perk. Again, in addition to salary, if you offer remote work as a benefit, I mean, that can be a huge game changer in bringing quality candidates as well. And then this can go either or, but a lot of companies have seen increased productivity and output by employees by this transition to remote. Obviously, those are some few and far between, employees that haven't logged on in 3 days, things like that. So there can be unique situations with that. But for the most part, and what we've seen with our clients is the productivity actually went up. What's kind of different in working with a recruiting firm, I stay on my candidates. I make sure they're actually working. So employers, they have to proactively reach out to them and make sure, they have enough meetings to touch base and things like that to make sure things are still moving forward. And again, how companies have shifted focus. One, enhancing their website and online presence, which is something, obviously I know Rotary has been trying to do with Facebook and things like that, not having as much physical networking to be able to go to. So really striving that online presence and marketing in that aspect. Virtual connections and networking. We do a lot of virtual client meetings. At first it was a little hairy. Clients weren't sure how the interaction was going to be. I will say I've never FaceTime, anything like that. So having virtual client meetings, being on computer face-to-face, I thought it was a little awkward at first, but you got to shift with the times. So we've had a lot of virtual coffee meetings, virtual networking on lunches. We actually had a virtual roundtable with some of our clients, where we got clients together. We asked them ahead of time, what were some of the questions that they would want to collaborate with other clients in Northeast Ohio? What questions do they have on COVID? What questions do they have on remote? In the HR aspect, what are you guys doing while you're hiring to ensure that people feel safe going back into the workforce? And just kind of having an open discussion. Really just a kind of a powwow to be able to share those experiences and what they've been dealing with. And we had about 25 clients on that. So that was a really cool opportunity for us. And then again, hiring temp resources help alleviate workload in current employees without the full burden of a full-time salary. So they've had a lot more contract and contract to hire type work as opposed to full-time is what we've been seeing. And then some creative ways that Robert Half, in addition to the virtual client visits and the virtual roundtable, we also do virtual interviews with candidates. So I do Zoom, FaceTime, Microsoft Teams, Skype, just so, to meet face-to-face, get that social interaction, learn what some of their soft skills are in addition to their technical skills. And although it might not be the same as seeing them on site in your organization and how they might fit with the culture, it still helps give you a better idea of their social skills. Tribute videos. I've done a few of these or been involved in a few of them. This really assists in a lot of company culture ways. So the two that we have done have been for work anniversaries. One I assisted Specialty Lubricants with, and then another was for Robert Half, for my boss, celebrating, I think it was her 15th anniversary with Robert Half. So basically what it was is we sent out a link to a bunch of our employees, and all they did was click on it, create a video either on their phone or on their computer, 2 minutes, answering questions like, what are your favorite memories working with Shannon? How has Shannon impacted your career? And then they submit the videos. Somebody, puts it all together and edits it, and then you can display it on a virtual happy hour and things like that. And it's really been a huge hit. What's nice, having to pivot to remote and do all these virtual things is being able to bring in people from across the country in different time zones and internationally in some cases. People that wouldn't be able to meet all at the same time, but all were able to contribute. We did have a couple international people on the Specialty Lubricants one that were able to join as well. So that was really cool to have everyone together in one spot. And then virtual fundraisers. I've been a part of a few virtual fundraisers and outside organizations that I'm in, planning Facebook Live events. I think Steve has brought it up to you guys a couple times just in terms of fundraising, some creative ways that you guys can do that. The one that I was involved in, they were raffling off purses. So they had purses donated and some that they bought, and then they had sent out raffle tickets via email or mail to anyone that wanted to buy them. And then the event was screened live on Facebook, and then they raffled off these purses and then mailed them out to the people that won them. It was for Real for Life, and they ended up raising $15,000. So that was a pretty cool event that I've been a part of. But again, taking advantage of the virtual. I mean, they had, I think, 400 participants in that. And if they held a physical event in any location, it probably would have only been able to hold 200. So, try to take advantage of the situation that we're in terms of getting more people involved in different ways. And then in terms of, digital etiquette, I'm sure you guys have been adapting to all the Zoom meetings that you're doing. As companies are switching to virtual client visits, I have to say there's a certain aspect of it that I really like. It just seems more laid back and conversational and more transparent on either end, on what they're looking for. And, as we've been trying to adapt to the global pandemic, we try to be understanding on the situations that they're in. They're as transparent as possible about, budget and things like that. So still kind of, holding that standard, looking professional most times, but I do work in IT, so a lot of times they're wearing t-shirts. But it's definitely a different world, a different virtual world. So we're trying to do our best to take advantage of it in that aspect. So here's just some pictures that I grabbed on some of the virtual things that we've been doing in our organization and some clients that have done these things. So on the left here, this was actually a fitness challenge that we did. And again, we were able to collaborate with some of our offices in Chicago, Columbus, and Cleveland to do a walking fitness challenge. So you download this application on your phone. I believe the prize won gift cards or something like that. Obviously my team didn't win, but we were working towards it. So it was a really fun company culture thing. We're getting emails and updates and fun discussions like that. Virtual 5Ks, our culture club has been involved in a few of these in organizing this. Just getting people involved virtually. So, races have been canceled all over the country, but you can actually do it just off an application on your phone. And just log those miles on there where and whenever you want to within a certain area. So September 1st through the 30th, run it anytime, anywhere for this virtual 5K in Akron. A couple colleagues and I are actually doing this, but I'll probably run the trails over here by my house and they'll run around Cleveland. The picture on the right, that's from one of our virtual happy hours that we've done. So my colleague's dog, Baker, has joined us on many of them. So that's been a fun experience. And then down below, I just put some examples of the tribute video that I had worked on and kind of how that works. So, just different ways that our clients have kind of pivoted to kind of work through this. And again, going back to the cybersecurity and ways to protect that and all of these, even virtual happy hours and things like that, you want to make sure that you have different logins, multi-step logins can definitely help create that security aspect. Having to log in with a password, any Zoom meeting that you enter, things like that, just taking the extra step to secure your meetings is something that we've been definitely striving for. What's been interesting is to hear why some employees choose not to work from home. If they haven't been working during this pandemic, but as that extra unemployment money is running out, a lot of people are transitioning to trying to adapt to taking temporary positions until they find something that's remote. But some of the reasons that they're not looking to work from home is, number one, inadequate technology. Number two, they feel they're not as productive. Three, they have a fear of missing out, the whole culture aspect, walking by people's offices, saying hi, things like that. And then loneliness. I've tried to collaborate with my coworkers as much as we can between the virtual happy hours and talking on Microsoft Teams throughout the day, things like that. But, in the long run, it ends up not being the same. But in terms of the inadequate technology, a lot of our clients are trying to explain different ways during the hiring process that they can help support them if they do have to end up going remote again in the event that happens. And it creates kind of more of a friendly work environment if they know that they do have that support. For example, company VPN, providing an Ethernet cable, providing them a computer or a laptop. Again, those are things during the hiring process that our clients have offered in terms of an actual salary. And then moving forward, so more professionals have been job searching. Since the enhanced unemployment benefits have ended, more candidates are trying to re-enter the workforce. Just within the past few weeks, we've had a lot more people proactively reaching out to us looking for jobs. So employers should definitely consider this time to hire in-demand professionals who were difficult to find in the past. because there's a lot of qualified people out there that are now looking for a position that were displaced due to COVID. So even if it's on a temporary basis, you know, as I mentioned, there's a lot more people that might be flexible in terms of what they're doing right now. They might be overqualified for something, but willing to settle for the next few months, you know, just until they can find something that they're really comfortable with. You know, there's those two sides of the job market. Despite the high employment rates, our employers are still struggling to find people in certain in-demand roles like cybersecurity or e-commerce. Employers continue to make strategic hiring decisions, and pre-pandemic salary expectations largely remain intact. Part of my job, as I mentioned, we use a career builder supply and demand report to give them insight on what the candidate market looks like for the certain position that they're trying to fill. A lot of the times in IT, the unemployment rate is still very low for the positions that they're looking to fill. So there's a lot more candidates, or a lot less candidates looking for those jobs and a lot more jobs out there. So it's still a candidates market in the IT space. And then, you know, using staffing firms as strategic partners. So businesses are planning reentry into the offices, picking up and playing catch up on delayed projects. So again, finding temporary assistance to catch up on those projects and just alleviate some of your workforce and some of that stress is kind of a good add-in. So some of the biggest questions that we've gotten from clients just on our insight into the market. So do you think we are entering a recession? And I'm not an economist, but what I can tell you just from, you know, things that I've been seeing and hearing and experience with clients and the jobs that we have coming in, certain roles and skill sets are faring better than others. Things might be moving in some areas where, you know, the hiring has definitely declined in others. So some examples would be law firms, systems administration, call center, and customer service representatives. So these are areas where many employers are facing competition for top performers still and still need to hire. And that has remained pretty consistent in those three positions throughout the pandemic. What effect do you think recent economic events will have on salaries? It's too soon to tell at this point. Again, a lot of clients' budgets have shifted, so they're trying to offer lower than what they probably would have originally. But again, part of my job is to, you know, go out into the market, see what candidates are asking for, and then come back to them with that insight. And then, you know, they can decide moving forward if it's really in their budget, if it's necessary for this project at this point, and things like that. In cases with a college degree requirement, the demand is still 50% higher than the number of candidates available, which means it's still a candidates market in many cases. And then, you know, what is the outlook right now for temporary hiring? Again, temporary hiring is probably the biggest aspect of being able to complete certain projects or just alleviate the workload if you don't have the budget to hire someone full-time right now. So just to wrap up, you know, how I can be a resource and just, you know, innovative ideas and assistance moving forward, you know, Rotary or people that you know in the area or family or friends, we have digital salary guides. So if you're hiring new talent or you know someone looking for a job, we have salary guides with the average compensation for roles across the board, from accounting to IT to sales to you know, executive level CEO, experiences taken into consideration, college degrees, and then the cost of living in different areas. So the next release is going to be on August 31st. So I can definitely send some of those out to you guys, whoever wants ones in, you know, certain areas, to provide some insight on what those salaries are looking like. Again, I have access to Career Builder supply and demand reports, again, with the salaries, the average salaries, and what candidates are looking for as opposed to what clients are willing to offer. Temporary or full-time consulting. You know, we have 8 different divisions. I specifically work in IT, but if you're looking to hire someone temporarily for an accounting position or you need help with marketing, things like that, I can help point you in the right direction. And then if you know of anyone looking for a job, definitely have them connect with me on LinkedIn. I post all of our open IT positions in Cleveland, Akron, and Pittsburgh on LinkedIn, as well as labor statistics, remote resources for companies, resume tips, trending topics with our clients. I reviewed tons of resumes just to assist some of my friends while they're applying for positions, as I kind of know what clients are looking for in the Cleveland market and what draws their eyes to certain things. I've been able to assist a lot of my friends in kind of reviewing those and giving them feedback. So, you know, kind of going off of that, does anyone have any specific questions? And if I don't know statistic wise, I can definitely follow up on it for you.
Yeah, I have a question. Hi, Nicole. I'm not only impressed by your company dealing with the staffing efforts going into the company as opposed to the people who are unemployed, the diversity efforts and the remote working opportunities kind of before all of this happened. But I'm also very impressed by your ability to speak. I think you did a great job, and I appreciate, oh, absolutely, I appreciate the presentation today. My question to you is, I've heard in some instances where people were actually making more on unemployment than what they would be making at their job. Are the positions that you're filling, are those salaries or payment structures always more than what people would be collecting on unemployment?
Yeah, so it definitely depends on the type of position. In the IT space, I source on sometimes lower level positions, so like help desk and customer service that are sometimes $14, $15 an hour. And then, in terms of software developers, it's like $35 to $50 an hour sometimes that they're making. So it definitely depends. In terms of the software developers, they're definitely making less still on unemployment. In terms of help desk, we've actually had people, just in my experience, turn down positions because they're making more on unemployment. And just within the past week, they've come back to us saying they're ready to look for a job. So it can go either way. It definitely depends on the situation and what they were doing prior to the pandemic. And then, there's a lot of other costs associated. So when they're not working for a company, they're paying for their own benefits as well and things like that. So unemployment's covering some of that. And then, as the transition to remote in the education system, they're no longer being able to, take their daughter to daycare and things like that. They have to be that care for them. So, there's definitely different situations out there, but there definitely are some cases where they were making more on unemployment.
Thank you.
Nicole, you had mentioned that the job market is 50% higher than the candidates available. Is that getting better, and why do you think that is?
It's definitely on an incline, and actually seeing that there's more jobs out there is definitely a good thing. There were a lot of people that were displaced due to COVID, obviously the unemployment rate going up. So it's definitely still a unique shift, but we're moving in a positive direction. Just within the past few weeks, we've gotten 15 new job orders for us to fill. And we've, I think, filled about 12 of them in terms of candidates that were qualified in the area. So moving in a positive direction, especially within the past month, I've seen a high uptick in that.
Okay, thanks.
Nicole, are you seeing much rise in the gig worker or part-time worker contracting to help companies meet their needs?
So part-time, we've had a couple roles that have come up for that. That has definitely been a lot more difficult to fill, especially for those that were currently on unemployment. They can work part-time and still receive unemployment, but there's certain processes that they have to go to, and it's a lot of paperwork, and then they're not sure if they're going to get paid correctly. So part-time employment has been hard to fill on our end. A lot of times if we're getting job orders for part-time employment, we are transparent with clients that it's going to be very hard to find candidates that are willing to do that right now.
And Nicole, I have a question. So have you seen, I don't know if it's your space, but you would have seen the data for it, like individuals who, before the pandemic worked a part-time job, maybe at a restaurant or whatever, and because of the pandemic, they've lost that like second income. Have you seen any data on that? Like the number of, or the monetary amount of money lost by,
Yeah, I'm not sure of that industry specifically. Restaurants and things like that aren't positions that we source for. But just, from the discussions that we've had, I know a lot, it's definitely gone south. Even as they were still, offering takeout and things like that. There's been a lot of businesses in the Cleveland area that have shut down, that just haven't been able to make those cuts and continue their business. Some of our smaller clients that we would fill positions in the accounting space that were helping them out. Some of our restaurant clients, they've had to shut their doors due to the pandemic. So in addition, those are, 15, 20 jobs lost as well.
Right, right. Because I work in the like social services field, and I have a lot of parents of clients who they may have worked, you know, they had a full-time job and they needed their part-time job to kind of, you know,
Make ends meet, yeah.
and they, because like their part-time whatever, they didn't qualify for benefits that they could have really used because it was, so I was just curious.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else have anything?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I noticed at the very beginning that you said that Robert Half had won awards for diversity several years in a row, and I know you're new, so you might not have been part of training programs yet in this area, but if you have, what have you found that Robert Half is doing that has been the most effective, at least as far as you can see, in increasing racial understanding within the workplace and enhancing diversity?
Yeah, within our company in general, twice a year we do cultural training, cultural and ethics training, just to kind of, you know, keep it in the forefront of our mind. And, you know, when going through the vetting process, you know, what questions can you ask? What questions can't you ask? You know, there's a lot of clients and companies, even HR out there, that don't understand that there's certain lines that you can't cross legally. And as recruiting firms, sometimes we're asked to ask people's age and things like that. And we have to tell them, we won't do that as a recruiting firm. You know, that doesn't hold to our standards. That doesn't hold to the laws in Ohio, you know, things along those lines. So we have to practice certain language to speak with our clients to kind of rebuttal those questions that they ask us to ask candidates. And again, just to kind of keep in our forefront what laws are, you know, in the United States right now, and, you know, things along those lines. Really just the right way to ask the right questions and things like that. So we do those trainings twice a year. And it also, you know, adapts with the times and some of the things that might be going on in the United States as well, you know, just to keep a level head and make sure that we're moving in the right direction, moving forward and representing our company in the right way.
Nicole, I have a question for you. My son, an adult son, he's 31 years old. He's just casually looking for a new job. He's currently employed, but he put his resume up on monster.com. And I noticed in your slide that that's one that you didn't mention. And I know you can't mention everything that's possibly out there. Is that something you look at, or is Monster kind of not?
Yeah, so that we did have an account with Monster, and recently, just in the past couple years, we found in IT specifically that we were seeing more on Indeed. So that's, we kind of moved to that direction and looking on that job board. But I would say in terms of the top job boards for him to have his resume on, it would be Career Builder, Indeed, and Monster. And then I'm a big believer in LinkedIn, you know, depending on the type of position he's looking for. LinkedIn has the quick job apply that you can use, that it just sends out your profile to employers. A lot of times on LinkedIn, it'll show who posted the job, so you can follow up with HR, send them a quick message, hey, I submitted my resume, just to kind of stand out in addition to the hundreds of resumes they might be receiving for a position. So I'm a big believer in LinkedIn. I'm trying to get Steve on there more.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good luck. Does anyone else have some questions? Well, I wanted to bring Nicole on here because she's so involved with the job market, and I know that we know so many people out there that are looking for jobs, that are laid off. You know, we've experienced it with specialty lubricants, where we know the unemployment rate is really, really high out there. Yeah, we can't seem to find anybody to hire. We have an open door. We have signs up. You go up and down Highland Road, there's signs up and down, help wanted. Yet people say they can't find a job. So not sure why that is, but we're trying to figure it out. And I knew Nicole had a lot of insights on that. Also, she talked about the virtual celebrations, and I wanted to touch on that real quick again. One of our founding company officers out in California, Husky Corporation, has been at Husky Corporation for 50 years. Heck, some people, that are married for 50 years, let alone be at the same company. He actually started this company when he was 16 years old. It was supposed to be a summer job, and he's still there to this day. And in fact, we joke with him, heck, that was a hell of a summer job, Mike. But Nicole brought up the celebration, the virtual celebration, and we have a lot of international customers through our division out in California. I'd say we have probably 15 international customers, and we sent this this link that Nicole helped me put together out to these international people, and boy, they were the first ones to reply compared to our domestic customers. We ended up having, do you recall how many we had on there, Nicole? We had, I think, 25
International
people.
or total? Yeah, there was 26 videos.
So we had 26 videos reply, and we told everyone to try and keep their video to 1 to 2 minutes, just very quick and very brief. We end up having over a 30-minute video to present the mic, and brought a tear to his eye, and we were only 2 videos in. And it just went over so well. And what we did is we turned it into a virtual happy hour. And we say, and he had no idea what was happening. I just told him, hey, Mike, I want to have a happy hour. You've been a Husker for 50 years. Let's have a couple beers. And so we invited him to the meeting, and all of a sudden all these people just started popping on. And he's like, what is going on here? And it just really, really went over well. So
like the 2020 flash mob.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
basically that's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. So, if you ever want to do something like that, email me and I'll put you in touch with Nicole, and she can let you know what link she used to do that. And I give Nicole credit. She probably spent an hour or so editing all the videos. We had one gentleman send in over a 5-minute video. We had to crop him out a little bit, but it really went over well. So, and of course, she's very familiar with the virtual fundraiser, so I'm going to get her involved with our club with that too, because we're leaning that way. We'll see what happens. So thank you very much for joining us, Nicole. I do appreciate it.
Definitely. And I sent Debbie those slides as well, so in case anyone's curious on those statistics and things like that, I sent that out too.
Okay, thank you. Okay. If you would like to stay with us, you can, Nicole. Otherwise, you can leave. But you can, in fact, I'd get Nicole to join Rotary, but I'm not sure how long she's going to be in town and be able to attend our meetings. But maybe I can talk her into it now that we're doing it virtual. She'd be a good speaker. Thank you, Nicole. Couple club announcements. As everyone knows, we had our safety town this week. I was hoping Derek was going to be here, but he couldn't make it. Hopefully, we can get an update with him this Friday, because this Friday, August 21st, is our board of directors meeting, so everyone's invited to that. There'll be an invite going out for that probably on Thursday. Our regular speaker, did you happen to jot down, Debbie, who our next week's speaker is? I forgot to write it down. We do have a speaker for next week.
Yeah, Jamie Collins.
And he's with who?
I got to find the email, but he's actually a member of the Brunswick Rotary.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he's also a ex-military and active member of the reserves, or former active member of reserves. But he wants to talk about how the military and Rotary and the things they do kind of coincide. So it should be a very good speaker next week for us. Mm-hmm. Shoebox program is up and rolling. I believe we may have 1 shoebox left if anybody else is interested in it. The shoeboxes, when you get them filled, they need to be dropped off to Terry S. at Builders Emporium on Highland Road. We have until the middle of September to get them filled. All right. On September 1st, our speaker will have a regular meeting. Daniel Brown with Rust Belt Riders is going to speak, and it's about food waste solutions. So that should be real interesting. And don't forget our reverse raffle on February 6th, right around the corner. So we're going to be planning on that too. And don't forget about our friends at the Emergency Assistance Center, and stop by and donate some food and fruit to them. Does anybody else have anything to add? Oh, in Safety Town, we also have some more signs and storefronts that are going to be going up. So I'll be throwing out a, once we figure out when we're going to do that. We got a lot of them to put up this time. There's over 24 of them. So I'll be asking for volunteers for that. Does
Steve?
anybody else have anything that they would like to add?
Steve, we
Yes.
still have a lot of empty spots and we need people to sell storefronts. Get in touch with me and I will give you the information as to exactly how we're going to do it and how we do it. But we need to sell more storefronts.
Yep, thanks for bringing that up, Bill. We absolutely do. So if you're talking to a business owner, you know, bring it up. It's great advertising for them. Even when Safety Town's not going on, the kids and parents are there all the time. The kids love to take their bikes and trikes and ride around Safety Town, even when it's not an official Safety Town. And the advertising is great there. So keep pushing the storefronts. We need more sold. Anybody else? Okay, with that being said, please join me in our four-way test. Debbie, could you please pull that up? Thank you. Please join me. Of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will build
goodwill and better friendships.
Fourth, will be
beneficial to all concerned.
Thank you for joining me, everybody. It's very appreciated. And join me next week. And whoever wants to be at the Board of Directors meeting this Friday, please join us at noon. With that being said, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks again.